From characters suddenly forgetting vital information when it suits the story, to insanely OP abilities springing up out of nowhere just because. These were the times Star Wars completely tore up its own rulebook. I'm Gareth from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 times Star Wars broke its own rules. Number 10. Obi-Wan being classed as R2-D2's former master. Let's face it, Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't have what you'd class as the most reliable memory in the galaxy by the time we meet the Jedi Master in A New Hope. On top of randomly deciding to refer to his one-time apprentice as simply Darth mid-battle, Ben also has no recollection of ever meeting R2-D2 or C-3PO, or even having ever owned a droid either. You have to feel bad for poor R4-P17, don't you? However, the fact that R2-D2 claimed to be the property of the wise old space wizard at all in Episode 4 doesn't really add up. In short, he never was. Throughout the prequels and Clone Wars animated series, we see that R2 was pretty much joined at the hip with Anakin Skywalker, also making Darth Vader's attempts to blast the astromech to smithereens at the end of the movie that little bit more disheartening. Sure, R2 may have just said this to Luke to get himself in front of his former ally to successfully deliver Leia's message, but it seems like a bit of a hopeful plan considering he wasn't to know whether he was even on Tatooine at that point. Number 9. Ripping up the Lightspeed rules. One of the most recognizable and epic visuals Star Wars has to offer is that of a hero starship shooting into light speed to evade an evil pursuer or get to the next stop on their quest in lightning speed. Yet in one of many examples of the sequel trilogy deciding something that wasn't broken needed to be fixed up in order to truly grip modern audiences, Rise of Skywalker saw Poe Dameron introduce the concept of light speed skipping to the masses, as Dameron and Finn do their utmost to keep from being turned into space dust as they attempt to flee the First Order's TIE fighters early in the movie. The impulsive pilot suddenly decides to pull this never-before-seen trick out of the bag, which sees the Millennium Falcon jump to different locations in the galaxy with the enemy in hot pursuit. The only issue? This technique doesn't make a lick of sense. Never has jumping to hyperspace resulted in a ship immediately showing up within a planet's atmosphere, and it makes a mockery of Han Solo's claim about the jump requiring precise calculations in the original trilogy. Someone just wanted a cool visual to close out the series, didn't they? Number 8. Yoda shoots lightning as a Force ghost. Since first being introduced to Star Wars fanatics on the back of Ben Kenobi telling Luke Skywalker to use the Force during A New Hope's climactic space battle over the Death Star, Force ghosts have been an ever-present entity within the galaxy far, far away. However, for the most part, the Jedi who gain immortality by preserving their consciousness after death aid the living on their various quests via communication only, and don't actually physically interact with their surroundings. But Yoda thought, nah, screw that, watch this in The Last Jedi, deciding to teach Luke Skywalker a lesson about letting go of the past. The uber-powerful Jedi Master summons literal lightning from the sky and blasts a tree that the lost one-time apprentice of the Little Green Legend assumed was housing the sacred Jedi texts. Some of these fallen Jedi can still conjure up incredible feats of power like such. Where was their help when things started to go south at any other point in the series? Also, adding the fact that a Force ghost Luke was able to catch a bloody lightsaber in Rise of Skywalker only adds more confusion to a rule that seemingly changes by the film. Number 7. Why doesn't Han Solo speak Wookiee all the time? Those who grew up on the original trilogy quickly accepted the fact that Han Solo completely understood absolutely everything his big furry best pal Chewbacca said to him, despite the fact that he only communicated in what appeared to be grunts and growls. Yet, with that being said, we still never witnessed the captain of the Millennium Falcon ever utter a few phrases of Wookiee back to his longtime bud in those first 3 cinematic entries, or even in The Force Awakens. So it was safe to assume that, while Han understood Wookiee, he couldn't actually converse with the big lad in his own language. That was until Solo, A Star Wars Story, decided to add a bit of comedy into the pair's initial on-screen meeting. During the duo's introduction to one another in said prequel, Han growls back at Chewie in Wookiee in an attempt to keep himself from being killed by the monstrous Wookiee. Sure, he only admits to knowing a little of his native language, but this seemingly harmless comedic moment quickly left fans wondering why Han never humored his old mate with a few Wookiee one-liners in the years since their first meet. Number 6. Planet-killing Star Destroyers. Remember when the most terrifying thing in the galaxy was a massive space station armed with a cannon so powerful it could take out an entire planet? Those were the days. But they were also the tired and stale days of the boring past, right? So instead of relying on yet another planet or moon-sized base capable of wiping out worlds with the push of a button, Rise of Skywalker once again decided to go a little nuts for the sake of a sweet visual. Just like that, the appearance of the Derefan demonstrated just how fed up of their own playground those ushering in this new era of Star Wars stories had become. Laughing in the face of the mythos that had come before it, a weapon as powerful as the ones that once could only be housed in gigantic moving orbs was quickly strapped onto the front of a Star Destroyer and used to turn Kijimi into a burst bubble. Maybe Star Wars simply peaked too early in the superweapon world. But either way, planet-bursting Star Destroyers set a dumb precedent that may have a lasting effect on subsequent big screen outings. Number 5. Only using the Force to control lightsabers when it's convenient. As fans have seen on countless occasions over the years, Jedi and Sith alike have used the Force in increasingly creative ways to get the better of a situation or an annoying adversary. And while pulling off a Jedi mind trick or shooting lightning out of your fingers is all well and good, and rather cool at that, it is perhaps the simplest action which is the most efficient when all is said and done. That being the ability to control objects at the flick of a hand. Yet while it's become the norm to see a Jedi suck a lightsaber out of snow from a distance, and even switch on their blade from afar, this ability does make you question why so many Jedi and Sith fall at the hands of these sacred blades. If it's that simple to manipulate a lightsaber, why not just switch off an opponent's laser sword the second it comes within striking distance of you? It would likely take the wind out of many a dramatic showdown, but it does make you think why most Force users simply forgot how to execute this rather simple action when their lives depended on it. Number 4. The high ground is useful, but only when used by a Jedi. When discussing the most emotionally charged moments the Star Wars series has to offer, Revenge of the Sith's pulsating battle between master and apprentice amidst the fiery terrain of Mustafar is certainly up there. Anakin Skywalker being cut down by his brother after being warned to stay put due to Obi-Wan having the high ground was as painful for those watching as it was for the fallen Jedi himself. Well, almost. However, once you take a step back away from this moment in the third entry of the prequel trilogy, it becomes clear that said high ground isn't entirely what it's cracked up to be. Jumping back 2 films to The Phantom Menace, Kenobi himself got the better of Darth Maul despite being in arguably a worse and lower position than the future Darth Vader. So are the Sith just oblivious to the advantages the high ground has to offer? Or did someone just like the sound of Obi-Wan confessing to have both the high ground literally and figuratively in this moment? Either way, the high ground seems to be a rather inconsistent tool in this galaxy. Number 3. Why can Emperor Palpatine move an entire fleet but not himself? Among many other flaws and issues fans were quick to point out when discussing the Frankenstein's monster that was Rise of Skywalker at times, one of the major points of contention were the illogical abilities of the returning Emperor Palpatine. Even after dissecting the odd details behind how he was actually able to stay alive all this time, there's still the question of why he opts to use his immense powers to pull off certain unimaginable efforts, but simply refuses to use said abilities to do the most trivial of things. The most notable example of this comes in the fact that the Sith Lord is somehow able to pick up an entire First Order fleet on his Todd. Yet this is the same dude that is so decrepit and battered by years of cloning and other dark means of staying alive that he can only move via massive crane for much of the movie. Would it not make more sense to use your ridiculously supercharged Force abilities to carry yourself instead of relying on a machine? Apparently not. Number 2. Han Solo's vivid memory appearance. Look, you can never have too much Harrison Ford when it comes to his always stellar work as Han Solo on the big screen. However, even die-hard Solo supporters found it a little tough to process what in God's name his appearance in The Rise of Skywalker was all about. Despite claiming to be merely a memory from Ben Solo come to life in front of the one-time Kylo Ren's eyes, the fact this is the only time we've ever seen such an unexplainable act come to fruition in the series, without the help of being a Force ghost, made the whole exchange a little tough to swallow. In all honesty, Ford's appearance in the film was likely nothing more than another desperate attempt to capitalize on nostalgia, and instead of trying to jump through narrative hoops to explain how Solo would be able to return as a Force ghost, someone probably felt they could just get away with passing this off as a hilariously vivid memory shared between father and son, of a moment that has never actually happened before. Number 1. Why didn't Rey disappear after dying? Across 9 epic Skywalker saga features, we've seen the Jedi who were forced to say goodbye to their mortal bodies disappear as they found peace in their departure from the land of the living. Yet the same could not be said for Rey upon meeting her maker at the end of Rise of Skywalker. In order to keep her around long enough to be brought back to life by Ben Solo after defeating Palpatine at the cost of her life, Rey doesn't quickly disappear after finding peace fighting for what she loved. Instead, she stays limp in Ben's arms, with the two sharing a smooch before the young Solo's own life is taken away in bringing her back from the dead. Highlighting the absurdity of the moment, Ben then suddenly disappears. But hey ho, how else would we have got to the point where Rey now oddly goes by the name of Skywalker, eh? What a broken movie. And that's our list. Know any other time Star Wars broke its own rules? Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you are watching is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.